This is Sergeant Caius Varlan, 3rd Watch, Imperial Guard, Listening Post, Gethsemane, Watchtower 2 Tungs, Emergency Transmission. Authorization Code, Sigma 779. If you're receiving this, it's already too late. But you need to know what happened here. What's still happening. Command will tell you we went dark 3 weeks ago. Equipment malfunction. Solar interference. The usual excuses they give when something out here stops answering. But that's not what happened. We didn't stop transmitting. We couldn't stop. 21 days ago, everything was normal. Commander Thresh ran morning briefing like she always did. Tech Priest Mordecus reported all systems functioning within acceptable parameters. Specialist Caney confirmed long-range Vox was clear. I reported security perimeter intact. It was another quiet day. 40 degrees below zero, 6 million kilometers from the nearest inhabited world. We were here to monitor warp fluctuations at the edge of the Gethsemane Nebula. The fleet relied on our data to navigate this sector. That made us important. Then every monitoring station emitted a sharp tone simultaneously. Mordecus announced multiple anomalous contacts in Sector 9. Distance 4,000 kilometers. The signature was fluctuating, inconsistent with any recorded classification in Imperial databases. Commander Thresh ordered it on main display. A cluster of signatures appeared, pulsing with irregular rhythm. When Caney asked what it was, none of us had an answer. Mordecus cross-referenced all databases. No matches found. The contacts were moving toward us, accelerating. Estimated time to closest approach was 6 hours. Thresh raised alert status to amber. I got the defense turrets online while Caney prepped an emergency transmission to command. We needed to know what we were looking at. 6 hours later, the mystery contacts had stopped at 150 kilometers, just holding position, like they were watching us. When we pulled up visual confirmation, the images kept distorting. The shapes seemed to fold in on themselves, geometry that hurt to look at. Mordecus detected interference patterns inconsistent with standard electromagnetic phenomena. Commander Thresh ordered Caney to hail them. Unknown contacts. This is Imperial Listening Post Gethsemane. Identify yourselves and state your intentions. Nothing but static in response. Thresh told him to try again on all Imperial frequencies. This time, something came back. Not words, not even sound exactly. A sensation transmitted through the Vox system. A pressure, a weight, something that existed in the space between frequencies. Caney's hands started shaking on the controls. Sweat beaded on his forehead despite the cold. He said he could hear voices in the static. They were saying his name. I moved quickly to his station and ordered him to cut the transmission. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the Vox cut out with a sharp electronic shriek. Caney was gasping, asking what that was. Mordecus said the Vox system experienced a feedback loop and ran diagnostics. When Thresh asked if he was all right, Caney said he could swear he heard his mother's voice. She had died 5 years ago. Thresh ordered him to take a break, called it fatigue and isolation. I took over his station and checked the systems. Vox was back online, systems nominal, but the shapes were closer now, much closer, as if they had moved while no one was watching. Mordecus recalibrated, 75 kilometers, but that was impossible. He had been monitoring constantly. There was no movement detected. I asked how they got closer. Mordecus said unknown. I recommended we go to Red Alert and prepare for possible boarding action. Thresh thought it was premature. With respect, Commander, I told her I'd been in enough combat zones to recognize a threat. Whatever was out there wasn't friendly. She agreed. Red Alert. All personnel to combat stations. Seal all external hatches. The alarm sounded, and the crew moved with renewed urgency. 3 hours later, Caney came to my quarters. I was cleaning my las rifle when he knocked. He looked pale and shaken, said he couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he heard that voice again. He asked what I thought was out there. I told him I didn't know, and that was what worried me. He asked if I thought it was Xenos. Maybe, I said, or something worse. He wanted to know what could be worse than Xenos. I asked if he ever heard about the places ships go when they travel through the warp. Sure, he said. It's the Immaterium, another dimension. That's how faster-than-light travel works. That's the technical explanation, I told him. But there are stories. Things sailors whisper when they think the officers aren't listening. About what lives in the warp. Things that aren't human. aren't even alive in any way we understand. Demons, Caney said. You're talking about demons. I told him I was talking about things that exist outside reality, that feed on emotion and thought, that can twist space and time just by being present. He gave a nervous laugh and said that was superstition. The ecclesiarchy uses those stories to keep people afraid and obedient. Is it? I asked him. Then explain what you heard in the Vox. Explain how those things outside moved without moving. He had no answer. I told him I had seen things in the war. Things Command tried to cover up. Entire companies that disappeared. Men who turned on each other for no reason. Places where reality bent. Caney went quiet for a long time. Then he asked if I thought those things out there were from the warp. I said I didn't know, but I knew we needed to be ready for anything. The alert klaxon sounded. Mordecus's voice came over the Vox system. All personnel to command center immediately. Emergency situation. We ran. When we reached command, the entire crew was already there. Thresh stood at the central display, her face grim. The contacts were gone, just vanished. Mordecus confirmed all sensor arrays showed empty space where the signatures had been. But that wasn't the emergency. The temperature inside the station had dropped 15 degrees in the last hour. Life support was functioning normally. No mechanical failures, no breaches in the hull. The cold was just there, seeping through the walls like something alive. And there was something else. The crew started reporting things. Strange things. Sounds in empty corridors. Shadows that moved wrong. Equipment activating on its own. Thresh ordered a full diagnostic of all systems. Everything came back green. That's when Specialist Harrow didn't report for duty. Thresh sent me and Caney to find him. We checked his quarters first. Empty. His bunk was made. His gear neatly stored, like he had never been there. We searched the entire residential section. Nothing. I called it in. Thresh ordered a station-wide search. All personnel accounted for except Harrow. We split into teams and began a systematic sweep. I took the lower maintenance levels. Dark down there. Emergency lighting only. The cold was worse. My breath came out in clouds. Frost formed on the pipes overhead. I heard something ahead. Footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. I raised my las rifle and called out, "Harrow, is that you? Identify yourself." The footsteps stopped. I moved forward carefully, turned a corner. Nothing there. Just an empty corridor stretching into darkness. Then I heard it. A voice, barely a whisper, coming from everywhere and nowhere. It said my name. Caius. Not Sergeant Varlan. Not my rank. My given name. A name I hadn't used in 15 years. A name only 3 people in my life ever used. And they were all dead. I backed away slowly, keeping my weapon raised. The voice came again. "Caius, why did you leave us?" I recognized it then. My brother. My brother who died on Cardia when I was 17. I ran. Didn't stop until I reached the command center. Burst through the door. Thresh looked up, startled. I must have looked like hell because she immediately asked if I was all right. I told her I heard something in the maintenance levels. A voice. She asked whose voice. I couldn't answer. Caney came over the Vox. He found Harrow. Deck 7. Observation Bay 3. We all rushed there. When we arrived, Harrow was standing at the viewport, his back to us, perfectly still, staring out at the void. I called his name. He didn't respond. I approached carefully. "Harrow, can you hear me?" Still nothing. I reached out and touched his shoulder. He turned. His eyes were open but empty, looking through me, through all of us, to something we couldn't see. He smiled. Then he spoke. But it wasn't his voice. It was dozens of voices, hundreds, all speaking in perfect unison. "We have been waiting," they said. "Waiting so long. Waiting for you to hear us. To let us in." Thresh ordered everyone back. Harrow took a step forward, then another. His movements were wrong, like a puppet on strings, like something was learning how to use a human body. I raised my weapon. "Harrow, stand down." "That's an order." The thing wearing Harrow's face laughed. "Orders," it said. "You still believe orders matter here. You still believe anything you do matters. We are already inside. We have always been inside, waiting, growing, feeding on your fear, your doubt, your desperation." Thresh ordered me to fire. I hesitated for just a moment, just one moment. That was enough. Harrow moved faster than anything human should move, crossed the distance between us in a heartbeat, grabbed Mordecus by the throat. The tech priest's augmented strength should have been more than enough to break free, but Harrow held him like he weighed nothing, lifted him off the ground. The flesh of Harrow's hand began to smoke where it touched Mordecus's neck. Not burning, changing. Mordecus's mechanical components started to corrode, rust spreading like infection. His Vox unit shrieked with static and feedback, and underneath the static, I could hear it. That sound from before, that pressure, that weight, the thing that existed between frequencies. I fired. 3 shots center mass. The last bolts hit Harrow square in the chest. He didn't even flinch, just turned his head to look at me. Those empty eyes, that terrible smile. You cannot kill what is already dead, the voices said. You cannot stop what has already begun. We are the echo. We are the memory. We are what remains when hope dies. Then Harrow released Mordecus and collapsed, just crumpled like someone cut his strings. We rushed to check them both. Harrow was dead, had been dead. Body temperature suggested he had been dead for hours. Mordecus's throat was badly damaged. His Vox unit was completely fried, but he was alive. Barely. Thresh ordered us to take Mordecus to the medical bay, secure Harrow's body in cold storage, figure out what the hell just happened. But we all knew. Deep down, we all knew. Whatever was out there in the void had found a way inside. Not through our hulls, not through our defenses, through us, through our minds, our fears, our memories. That was 18 days ago. Since then, things have gotten worse, much worse. The cold has spread through the entire station. Life support is running at maximum capacity but can barely maintain 40 degrees. We lose more systems every day, not to mechanical failure, to something else. The machine spirits are dying, or fleeing. I'm not sure which. We're down to 5 personnel. Commander Thresh, Tech Priest Mordecus, Specialist Caney, Gunner Voss, and me. Everyone else is gone. Some we found, some we didn't. The ones we found were like Harrow, dead but moving, speaking with voices that weren't theirs. We had to put them down. Emperor, forgive us, we had to. The entity, if that's what it is, seems to feed on isolation, on fear. It picks us off one by one, always when we're alone, always when we're vulnerable. And it knows things, things it shouldn't know. Private things, secret things, things we buried deep and tried to forget. It uses those things against us, turns our own minds into weapons. Caney tried to reach command 5 days ago, managed to get a transmission out before the Vox array failed. We don't know if anyone received it. We don't know if anyone's coming. The last supply convoy isn't due for 3 more months. By then, there won't be anyone left to save. I think the entity knows this. I think it's taking its time, enjoying our fear, our suffering, drawing out the inevitable. This is the end of part 1. If you're still listening, if anyone is still out there, I need you to understand something. This thing, whatever it is, it's not just killing us. It's learning how to be human, how to mimic us, how to hide. And when it's done here, when we're all gone, I think it's going to leave, going to find another outpost, another crew, and it's going to do this all over again. You need to warn them. You need to stop it before it spreads. The last signal of Gethsemane, Part 2. 3 days ago, Commander Thresh called us all to the command center. What was left of us? 5 people in a station built for 20. She looked like she had aged 10 years in 3 weeks. We all did. The cold and the fear and the sleepless nights had hollowed us out, made us into ghosts haunting our own lives. She told us we needed to make a decision. We could stay and wait for help that might never come, or we could try to reach the emergency shuttle and evacuate. Voss was the first to speak. He was our gunner, a massive man from a hive world, all muscle and scars. He said we should fight, that running was cowardice, that the Emperor expected us to hold our post no matter what. Caney disagreed, said there was no shame in survival, that we couldn't fight something we couldn't even see, that staying here was suicide. Mordecus, his voice box repaired but still glitching, calculated our odds. 23% chance of successfully reaching the shuttle, 47% chance of the shuttle being operational, 12% chance of making it to the nearest Imperial outpost, Less than 2% overall survival probability. Thresh listened to all of this. Then she made her decision. We would stay. She said abandoning our post would make us traitors to the Imperium. That our duty was to maintain the listening station regardless of personal cost. That help was coming and we just needed to survive until it arrived. I could see it in her eyes though. She didn't believe her own words. None of us did, but we followed orders. That's what soldiers do, even when the orders are going to kill us. That night, Voss disappeared. We found him the next morning in the ammunition depot, sitting against a wall, his service pistol in his hand, single shot to the head. But here's the thing, Voss was left-handed. The pistol was in his right hand, and the angle of the wound was wrong. Impossible for him to have done it himself. We knew what that meant. The entity had taken another one, made it look like suicide to break our morale. And it worked. Thresh locked herself in her quarters after that. Wouldn't come out, wouldn't answer the Vox. Caney and I forced the door open 12 hours later. She was sitting at her desk, perfectly calm, writing in her personal log. She looked up when we entered, smiled, asked us what took so long. I asked if she was all right. She said she had never been better, that she finally understood what we were really doing here, what we had always been doing here. She told us the listening post was never about monitoring warp fluctuations. It was a lighthouse, a beacon, calling out into the dark, inviting things to come, to find us, to learn from us. And now one had answered. Now one had come. And it was glorious, beautiful, the most perfect thing she had ever seen. She wanted us to see it too, to embrace it, to let it inside, to become part of something greater than ourselves. Caney backed toward the door. I kept my Lazarafal trained on Thresh. She stood up slowly. Her movements were smooth, too smooth, like Harrow's had been. She took a step forward. I told her to stop. She didn't. Told me there was no point in fighting, that it was already too late, that we were already part of it. Had been since the moment those contacts appeared on our sensors. Maybe even before that. Maybe we had always been part of it, and just didn't know. I fired, hit her in the shoulder. She stumbled back, looked down at the wound, then looked back at me, and laughed. The wound started to close, not healing, just closing, like the flesh was knitting itself back together. But wrong. The skin was too pale, too smooth, like wax, and underneath I could see something moving, something that wasn't blood or bone, something that pulsed with its own rhythm. Caney grabbed my arm, pulled me out of the room. We sealed the door behind us, could hear Thresh on the other side, still laughing, still calling to us, telling us there was no escape, nowhere to run, that it was in the walls now, in the air, in our minds, that the station itself was becoming part of it, an extension of its will, a doorway between dimensions. That was 2 days ago. We haven't seen Thresh since, but we hear her, moving through the corridors, sometimes alone, sometimes with others, the dead ones, the possessed ones. They hunt us now, not aggressively, not with any real urgency, like they know they have all the time in the world, like we're already caught and they're just waiting for us to realize it. Caney and I barricaded ourselves in the transmission chamber. It's the most defensible position in the station, heavy doors, independent power supply, and most importantly, the long-range Vox array. If we can repair it, if we can get a signal out, maybe Command will send help. Maybe they'll quarantine the sector. Maybe they'll do what needs to be done. Exterminatus, virus bombs, whatever it takes to make sure this thing doesn't spread. Mordecus is with us, or what's left of him. The corruption from Harrow's touch has spread. His augmetics are failing. His human parts are changing. He spends most of his time in a meditative state, praying to the Omnissiah, asking forgiveness for his weakness, for allowing the machine spirits in his care to be corrupted, for failing in his sacred duty. I don't think the Omnissiah is listening. I don't think anyone is listening, except the entity. Yesterday, Caney told me something he had been keeping to himself. He said he remembered the voices now, the ones he heard in the Vox when we first hailed the contacts. They weren't just saying his name. They were telling him things about himself, things he had done, mistakes he had made, people he had hurt. They knew everything, every secret, every regret, every moment of shame he had ever experienced. And they promised him they could take it all away, make him forget. make him new. All he had to do was open the door. I asked him what door. He pointed at his head. The door in here, he said. The one we all have. The one that keeps the outside out and the inside in. The entity wants us to open that door, to let it merge with us, to become one with it. And the terrible thing, he said, the truly terrible thing, is that part of him wants to. Part of him is so tired of fighting, so tired of being afraid, so tired of being himself, that oblivion sounds like peace. I understood what he meant, because I felt it too. That exhaustion, that desperation, that terrible seductive whisper promising an end to pain, to fear, to consciousness itself. Just let go, just surrender, just stop fighting and let the dark wash over you. It would be so easy, so simple, and maybe that's what the entity really feeds on. Not fear exactly, but the desire to escape fear, the longing for release from the burden of existence. But I can't, won't, because if I do, if we all do, then it wins. Then it learns everything it needs to know about breaking human minds, and it will use that knowledge on others, on entire worlds. It will spread like a plague through the Imperium, riding on ships, hiding in the minds of travelers, waiting until it finds another isolated outpost, another group of vulnerable souls, and it will do this all over again, and again, and again, until there's nothing left but echoes of what we used to be. So I'm recording this, putting down everything that happened, everything we learned, while I still can, while I'm still me. Caney is working on the Vox array, trying to boost the signal. Give us enough range to reach command. Mordecus is monitoring the door, watching for any sign of intrusion, and I'm here, talking to you, whoever you are, wherever you are, hoping someone hears this, hoping someone learns from our mistakes. The entity came from inside the station. That's what Thresh figured out before she was taken. The listening post itself is the source, built on something old, something that was sleeping. Our presence here, our technology, our psychic emanations from 20 human minds all thinking and feeling and dreaming, woke it up, fed it, gave it strength. The contacts we detected weren't ships arriving. They were manifestations, projections, the entity testing its reach, learning to exist outside its prison. And now it's free. Not completely, not yet, but soon. Once it's consumed all of us. Once it's absorbed all our knowledge, all our experiences, all our humanity, it will have everything it needs to leave, to move on, to find new prey. That's why you need to destroy this place. Why you need to make sure nothing leaves. Why you need to burn it all. Purge it with fire and radiation and holy wrath until there's nothing left but atoms. I know what you're thinking. How can I be sure any of this is real? How do I know I'm not already compromised? That this isn't the entity speaking through me, planting false information, leading you into a trap? The truth is I don't, can't. That's the hell of it. The uncertainty, the doubt, not knowing if your thoughts are your own anymore, not knowing where you end and it begins. That's part of how it wins. But I have to trust something, have to believe that some part of me is still uncorrupted, still faithful, still human. So I'm going to finish this recording, and I'm going to help Caney repair that Vox array, and I'm going to send this message out into the void, and I'm going to pray to the Emperor that someone receives it, someone who can do what needs to be done. The temperature in here just dropped another 10 degrees. I can see my breath, can see frost forming on the equipment. The lights are flickering more frequently now. The hum of the power generator has changed pitch, gone discordant, wrong. Mordecus just alerted us. He detected movement outside the door, multiple contacts, moving slowly, deliberately, taking their time. They know we have nowhere to go. Caney says he needs another hour, maybe 2, to complete the repairs and send the transmission. I don't think we have that long. I can hear them now. Outside, walking, dragging, breathing, or something like breathing. A wet, rasping sound that makes my skin crawl. And voices, whispering, calling our names, telling us to open the door, to come out, to join them, to be part of something beautiful. I recognize some of the voices. Thresh, Voss, Harrow, the others, all speaking in unison, creating a chorus of the damned, a symphony of corruption. And underneath it all, that sound, that pressure, that weight, the thing that exists between frequencies, growing louder, growing closer, filling the space around us like water filling a sinking ship. Mordecus's augmetics are sparking now, failing rapidly. He's reciting prayers in binary, holy litanies of the machine god, begging the machine spirits to hold just a little longer, to give us the time we need. But the spirits are fleeing. I can feel it, can sense the life draining from the equipment around us, leaving behind empty shells, dead metal, waiting to be filled with something else. Caney is sweating despite the cold. His hands shake as he works, connecting wires, bypassing damaged circuits, coaxing the Vox array back to functionality. He's muttering to himself. Numbers, equations, technical specifications, anything to keep his mind focused, to keep the whispers out. But they're getting louder, more insistent, promising him things, showing him visions. I can see it in his eyes, the temptation, the weakness, the part of him that wants to give up. I put my hand on his shoulder, reminded him who he is, what he's fighting for, that the Emperor protects those who remain faithful, that death with honor is better than eternal corruption. He nodded, kept working, but I could see tears streaming down his face, freezing before they hit the floor, tiny crystals of despair. The door is buckling now, not from physical force, from something else. The metal is warping, bending, becoming malleable like clay. Shapes are forming in it, faces, hands, reaching toward us. Mordecus has positioned himself between us and the door. His last act of service, his final duty, protecting the flesh that remains from the corruption that advances. He knows he's dying, knows there's no escape, but he stands his ground anyway, because that's what loyalty demands. I love him for that, love all of them. Caney, Mordecus, even Thresh and the others, my brothers and sisters in service to the Imperium, my companions in this frozen hell. We came here to do a job, to serve the Emperor, to be lights in the darkness. And we tried. Emperor knows we tried. We just didn't realize the darkness would be so absolute, so hungry, so patient. Caney just looked up, smiled, said he's got it. The Vox array is operational. We can send the transmission. I asked him how long it will last. He said maybe 5 minutes, maybe less before the power fails completely. I told him that's enough. That's all we need. 5 minutes to warn humanity. 5 minutes to make our deaths mean something. He initiated the transmission sequence, set it to broadcast on all Imperial frequencies. Maximum power, no encryption. We need this message to reach as many people as possible. So this is it. This is the end. Sergeant Caius Varlan, 3rd Watch, Imperial Guard, Listening Post, Gethsemane, Watchtower 2, recording my final transmission. The entity is breaking through now. I can see it, flowing through the gaps in the door like smoke, like shadow, like nothing and everything at once. Mordecus is burning, his augmetics overloading in one last act of defiance, creating a barrier of flame and electricity, buying us precious seconds. Caney is beside me, weapon raised. We both know bullets won't stop it. Nothing will stop it now. But we'll die fighting anyway, because that's who we are. That's what the Emperor demands. Courage in the face of impossible odds. Faith when reason fails. Duty until the very end. To whoever receives this transmission. To command. To the Inquisition. To anyone with the authority and the will to act. Listening Post. Gethsemane must be destroyed. Completely. Utterly. Leave nothing intact. The entity that has consumed us cannot be allowed to spread, cannot be allowed to reach the Imperium at large. Exterminatus is not just recommended, it's required, mandatory. The only way to ensure this corruption ends here, and to the families of those who served here, to the loved ones we left behind, tell them we died faithful, tell them we held the line until the end, tell them we did our duty, that we fought the darkness with everything we had, that we never surrendered, never gave in, that even in our final moments, we remained loyal sons and daughters of the Emperor. The entity is here now, in the room, all around us. I can feel it pressing against my mind, trying to find a way in, showing me things, memories, people I've lost, choices I regret, offering me peace, offering me release, offering me everything I've ever wanted if I just stop fighting, just let go, just become part of it. But I won't, can't, because I am Caius Varlon. I am a soldier of the Imperium. I am a servant of the Emperor, and I will not fall, not like this, not without one last act of defiance, one last gesture of resistance. Mordecus is gone now, consumed, transformed, but he bought us the time we needed. The transmission is complete. The message is sent. Our purpose is fulfilled. Caney just turned to me, said it's been an honor serving with me. I told him the honor was mine. We clasped hands, brothers to the end. Then we turned to face the entity, raised our weapons, spoke the litany of hatred, the prayer of protection, every holy word we could remember, filling the air with faith, with defiance, with humanity's refusal to go quietly into the dark. And you know what? I don't think it expected that. I think it thought we would break, would beg, would surrender at the end. But we didn't. We stood our ground. We fought. And in that moment, just for that moment, I think we won. Not the war, not even the battle, but something, some small victory of the spirit, some proof that humanity is more than flesh and fear, that we are will and courage and stubborn, bloody-minded refusal to accept defeat. The entity is taking me now. I can feel it, feel my thoughts becoming confused, feel my sense of self fragmenting, dissolving, becoming something else, something I don't want to be. But that's all right, because the message is out there, the warning is sent, and someone will hear it, someone will act, someone will make sure this ends. To the listeners, to the receivers of this final signal, do not mourn us, do not remember us with sadness. Remember that we stood when we could have run, fought when we could have surrendered, died free when we could have lived enslaved. Remember that in the darkest hour, in the coldest void, in the face of an evil beyond comprehension, we remained human, remained faithful, remained loyal. The Emperor protects, not always from death, not always from pain, but from corruption, from the darkness, from losing ourselves to the void. And in that protection, in that preservation of our essential humanity, there is victory, there is hope, there is meaning. This is Sergeant Caius Varlon, signing off. The Emperor protects, the Emperor protects, the Emperor protects. End transmission.